I genuinely had so much fun the last time I did like a little get ready with me with you guys. Not too long ago I did one and I was just like telling you guys a tale from the past, and I thought again, what the perfect timing to do that. Today I thought I could focus on travel. If you don't know already, I love me some travel. If we weren't currently in a pandemic, I would have gone to a whole bunch of other places, but I understand that is not possible right now. That's fine, but I mean, we can't even go to different states in our country. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like if you're from Australia, you would know that like travel basically within our own country is like on hold for the foreseeable future. We don't even know how long until like we can go into another state, which really sucks because my family lives in another state, so like I cannot see them. And that's the same for a lot of people. A lot of people live in a different state to their family. Some people literally live across the border from their family, so like 2 states bordering, and they can't like see each other, which is so insanity. That's what's currently happening here, let alone like other places in the world, I suppose. Like, are you guys allowed to travel? I don't know what's happening, but literally within our own country we can't. Like, there's no point because everywhere's constantly like locking other states out, so you could get stuck somewhere. It sucks. But yeah, that's what's going on in Australia right now. How about you guys? So I thought I would tell you a little story about one time when I went to New Zealand with one of my best friends. So my friend and I went to New Zealand, which New Zealand is basically like across the water from us. It's like the closest country. I'm fairly certain it is anyway. We were going on like a ski trip, and like, I mean, we don't have a lot of snow in Australia, so snow is pretty exciting for us. I was like, I'm gonna snowboard. I've waited for this moment my entire life, so excited. We'd booked it all through a travel agent, which like I will never ever do again. I hate booking through travel agents. They like just ruin bloody everything. I get that they need to make their money off it as well, but like a lot of the time they bump the prices up way more than it has to be, and also like you just can't have it as personal and like unique a trip as you would want it if you're letting someone else do it. I know it takes the stress away, but does it really? We booked this package, and the package was like lift tickets for like skiing, our accommodation for 7 nights. I think like breakfast was also included, and a car as well. So it was like huge package, so exciting. And the price was like amazing. We didn't really ask too many questions. We just booked it. So this is my friend who literally would never stay in a hostel. Like, before we went away, she was like, I don't want to stay in a hostel. Like, I'm not doing it. I know a lot of people don't like hostels. I understand. That's fine. But personally, I think it's great. As someone who wants to travel like so many different places, it's kind of the way you have to do it unless you're a millionaire. She's like, I would never, it's so stinky, everyone's disgusting, like they're all hippies, and like no one showers. I could not have a shower in those disgusting showers. So off it. Never, ever, ever gonna see her step foot in a hostel. Like, I'm talking, this is a friend who for her family holidays growing up, they would like go to Europe and like travel Europe. That's what she was used to. So jealous. I wish I'd been able to do that, but my family went like camping, which was great. I'm not saying it wasn't bad. I'm lucky I even got to go on like holidays with my family. But camping, like hotels in Europe, bit of a difference there. Like, I'm used to roughing it a bit. I can handle it. So we get over there and we get like picked up from the airport with like this company that's like organized everything. We get picked up in this nasty ass van, and we're already like looking at each other like, oh my God, what? Like, what? What are we in for? What is about to happen? We just could tell something was a bit sketch immediately. And because we're going like to the ski fields and we're like hiring a car from this place, they have to like show us how to use the snow chains. They fucking put like a VCR in, like literally this was only like 5 years ago as well. So like they put a VCR into the thing, and it was the oldest, most boring like video I've ever seen. It was like, hello kids, this is how you put snow chains on. And we're sitting there like watching it, just want to get our car and get out there. We don't want to sit in this stinky, like shitty, run down car hire place. That's not what we came to New Zealand for. Like, let us get out there. We watched that, and I'm pretty sure that like we signed something to say like we've watched it. He's like, you good? Like, do you understand all that? And we're like, yep, cool. We get in the car and I was like to her, I'm like, oh, did you watch any of that? And she's like, no, did you? And I was like, no. I'm like, I thought you were paying attention. She's like, no, that was so boring. So neither of us watched the snow chains video. We had no idea how to do it. Great. Love that for us. It seems we're going to do absolutely fine on the mountain. The car is like 180 years old.
Our delicious little sex-mobile.
Like, it's from the 80s. It's so old. Like, they've given us the most rundown car known to mankind. It's hideous. And we're expected to drive on snow roads that we've never driven on before and don't know how to put snow chains on. Hooray, cannot wait for this trip. She sees the car and she's already like, this is sick. Like, I do not want to be seen driving around in this car. And like, we're just laughing because it was so hilarious and so hideous, and we just looked so uncool in this ugly car. We arrive at the accommodation, checking in and stuff, and like, I realize, I'm like, this is a hostel and I don't think she knows it yet. I feel like I read it on one of the things of paper we got from the travel agent. As you can tell, not that we like paid attention to anything, like we didn't even watch the snow chains video, so we're not really paying attention to like what type of accommodation we're staying in. We just thought like, it's all good, like people do this all the time, it'd be so fun. We were wrong. I'm fairly sure it said something about a dorm. At this reception, like you can already tell it's like looking shitty as hell, like it's so dodgy, and and Fiona's like looking at me like, are you serious? Like, I can't believe we're here. Like, she is disgusted in it, and I'm just like laughing because I knew she was in for a treat. We get handed our blanket and towel like we're about to enter prison. She's just looking at me like, why am I getting handed this? They don't do this in a hotel. As we're walking to like our room, she's like, oh my God, like what is this place? And I just laugh because that's the only thing I can do in those situations is I know I'm gonna be fine, but I know she is not gonna be happy. So we open up the door to our room, and not only is there bunk fucking beds, but there is this tiny heater, and on the heater are these smelly like socks and like ski gear all hanging on the heater, like dripping wet on the heater, stinking up. Like the room stunk of just stinky, sweaty stinkers. She just like looks at me, she's like, oh my God, I didn't know it was a hostel. And she's like, oh my God, I've never stayed in one. She's like, oh my God, I can't stay here. Like, why are we here? And I was just like laughing at this point. What are you gonna do? Like, honestly, it's about the adventure. It's not about like where you're staying, because you always get like way better stories when things just don't go to plan. She's like, I have to sleep on the bottom. And I was like, whatever. At this point, I knew it was just like, I just had to keep her happy. Otherwise she would not, she probably would have gone home, to be honest. So I was just like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Hate being on the top bunk, who doesn't? But at least it's the top bunk of like someone I know, rather than when you're in a hostel and you have to like sleep on top of someone else you don't know, and you're like waking them up every 5 minutes when you go to pee. But she's like, I need to set up protection so they can't see me. So she's setting up all these, like, she's grabbing her towels and she's setting them up on the bottom bunk. So like she's completely covered, like no one can see her sleep. She's hidden, there's no light. She's good. I'm on the top, exposed to the world. Everyone can bloody see me. Love that. We were trying to work out if we're in a mixed dorm or if we're like in an all-female one, because like generally they have to like ask you like if you want to be in a female or a mixed one, because like some people definitely aren't comfortable with that. But by the look of the stinky stuff hanging on the heater, we're definitely in a mixed dorm. And like this mixed dorm is also only 4 beds but 2 bunks. We're in close quarters with these people. Literally the beds are like a meter apart. We were just like, oh my God, why did it have to be guys? We did not want to be in a fucking hostel to begin with, let alone with guys who are gonna see us in our worst forms. Like when you're sleeping, drooling, just being hideous in the morning. Don't want to do it. But then we're like, you know what? They're probably just some dirty hippies. Nothing against dirty hippies. Love dirty hippies. I basically am one. If this wasn't my form, dirty hippie would be my form. So while she's sitting there setting up her little fort, while I'm just gonna be exposed to the damn elements, our new friends walk in the door. One of our friends just so happens to be divine, so beautiful. And we both just look at each other and we're like, you fucking kidding me? Of course we had to get a beautiful, beautiful man in our midst while we're in the most gross states of our life. We start talking to them and they're super nice. They're like lovely guys. And it was so funny because like when we first entered the dorm, Fiona's not about it. She doesn't want to be there. And then the beautiful man, like we start to get to know them and she's having a ball. She's loving it. She's loving seeing the beautiful man. Like I'm not saying I wasn't, I definitely was as well, but it's just like the switch. It was amazing. The hostel is having a pub crawl that night, and if you know me and Fiona, you know we love a pub and we love a crawl. So that night, every single bar that we went to, because we was part of the pub crawl, they were giving Sambuca shots to every single person, like as you entered, and like no one fucking likes them, and like neither do I, but they were free, so automatically I was about it. And I was just like, hell yeah, I'm gonna drink these free shots, don't care what they taste like. So I'm doing like every bar that we go to because no one else is doing theirs. They're like, yep, just have mine. And I'm like sick, thinking it's like the best time ever. Ugh. I proceed to drink so many of them.
50 Sambuca!
I'm also drinking like tons of beers and like, yeah, just beers. Just start dancing everywhere, having the craziest time. Someone's a little bit too drunk. So I go outside and I go to sit up on one of these like stools that's up against like an outside bar. It's not the bar, but you know, like those wooden, like thick wooden tabley things. I don't know what they're called. Like ledges, I suppose. And I go to sit on a stool next to one of them. To this day, I don't know if there was a stool actually there, but I pictured a stool in my mind. And I go to sit on it, and whether the stool fell out from underneath me or the stool never existed, I still do not know. I basically just went and smacked into the big thick wood bench ledge thing with my noggin. I was like, oh, that like hurt a bit. But I didn't think too much of it. I just was like, ow. And then like I went like this and there was just blood all over my hand and like a lot of blood. And I was like, that's probably not good. But it didn't hurt. That was a crazy thing. And I ran to find Fiona, couldn't find her. So then I ran up to my friend who I'd made that night and I was like, oh my God, like look at this. And she's like, oh, holy shit. And then she like rushes me to the bar and she's like, her head's cracked open, she's bleeding everywhere. And then to take me like into the kitchen. So embarrassing. I've never done anything like that before. Like normally I feel like I'm pretty good with my alcohol. Just for some reason, them Sambuca shots had me fucked up. I shouldn't have done that many. I just got so out of control. So that really sucked. I don't know what they did. I think they gave me ice or something in there. They're like, yeah, should probs call an ambulance? And who comes and picks me up? A fucking taxi. They didn't call an ambulance. They called a taxi. Don't know about you, but when someone's got their head cracked open and they're just bleeding out, you generally call an ambulance, not a taxi, because a taxi can't like speed you there. Well, they called a taxi. And like if you've met Fiona, dragging her out of a bar or a party or anything is the most difficult thing in the world. So thank you, Fiona. You must like really actually love me. I'll just say neither of us are very good at looking after people when we're drunk ourselves. New Zealand's hospital system, I don't know what's going on there. Also, I definitely paid for travel insurance, so I don't know why any of these things happened. I don't know why the ambulance didn't come because I was covered for that on my travel insurance, like to get an ambulance. So I don't know why I didn't get an ambulance. I got a cab anyway. Then when we got to the hospital was literally like a ghost town. Like there was no one there. I've never seen a hospital with no one in it. I feel like hospitals are always just like bustling with people constantly. There's always people there. It may not always be like hectic full on, but like there's just always people there. Like you always see them. And I get taken in there. Fiona just goes missing. She goes off because she's drunk and she just starts walking around the hospital and like just doing her thing. Just as living her drunk life in this hospital. And she like even said after, she's like, there's literally no one around. I don't know what place we were in, but it was hella weird.
Currently lost inside a hospital. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know.
And I'm like freaking out. I wasn't even in that much pain. I just thought I was gonna die.
When you crack your head open, so you have to go to the hospital. Oh, oh.
You're the best what?
It was so funny because I was so drunk. I was calling this person's phone number who I thought was my boyfriend's phone number, but it wasn't. And like leaving all these messages saying that I'd cracked my head open, like I'm in hospital, and then Fiona had left him a million messages as well. And this person would have just got a million messages from these random drunk girls telling him this. Because I asked him I was like, did you not get any of my messages? He's like, no. And like, it wasn't because the phone wasn't working, like because we were in a different country. It was because we were calling the wrong person. I was genuinely that drunk that it could have been a crazy murderer person taking bits of my brain out. I don't even remember. And the only reason I think that was some crazy person taking bits of my brain out is because as we're about to leave, Fiona asked the nurse or doctor or this crazy mad scientist, whoever the hell was stitching me up. She's like, can I have your tools? And the person's just like, yeah, here you go. She literally hands over to her, not to me, my blood covered tools. Like the tool she's used on me, she has given to her and just like, they've got my blood all over them. Why are you doing that? Like, this is what I mean. Like, what is New Zealand's policies? I just know you couldn't do that in Australia. Like, I think of it in a piercing sense. Maybe it's different because maybe every tool in a hospital is single use, because tools in a piercing studio are definitely like autoclaved and reused. But like, would any nurse just hand out their tools like that covered in someone else's blood? I think that's a really big health and safety risk. And I don't think that would be okay in Australia. It's hilarious. I think Fiona actually was nice enough to give me some of them as a bloody souvenir. So thanks, Fiona. You got me the greatest souvenir of all time. So fun. I wonder if I can find them. I kept them because they're the funniest souvenir ever. So we get back and not only have I cracked my damn head open, I'm just like potentially concussed as well. Like they told me like to stay awake for a while. So on the way back, Fiona's messaging some guy she's met that night. They were like, oh, come round after when you get back. And then apparently one of them was like, oh, and bring your friend too. Not only do I have a boyfriend, I've also just come back from the hospital, concussed, and I've cracked my head open, and you think it's an okay thing to invite me to come drink with you and most definitely be hitting on me? Like, fuck no. Not to mention that was also like the tour, like one of the tour organizers as well. Like, yuck. It's sickening to me. And like, he's definitely been creepy the whole night prior to that. So yucky, yucky, Kentucky, we hate it. Don't do that to people. It's creepy and we think it is yucky, and people will run away from you instead of coming towards you. It's creepy, it's freaky, you're freaky, we hate you. And then my head was just throbbing for days and I was just like, this is so uncomfortable. It sucked. We couldn't go anywhere the next day because I cracked my head open. I've got all these videos for the next like few days of me trying to film the back of my head so I could like see what it looked like, and I missed it in every video that I took. And there was so much blood in my hair too. Definitely waited a day or two because it was so sore and I didn't even want to touch it. So I washed it out and there was just blood everywhere, like dried blood, so much. And then finally the day came where we had to go up the mountain. We're making our way up the bloody hill. I was terrified. Fiona was the scariest driver I've ever seen in my life. And I was constantly getting angry at her. And I'm like, you need to slow down. She'd be like, I'm fine, I'm such a good driver. And like, anyone who is a crazy driver with me, I'm just like so uncomfortable and I get so upset and angry, and then I just won't talk to them for like a day. Just because like I fucking hate it. I hate how people think that they're invincible in driving when they're not. So many people do it and I get so angry about it. And I was just like, you don't know what you're doing, you've never done. And she was like, oh, I've done so much mountain driving. I'm like, when? We don't even have bloody mountains in Australia. And we're going up the hill and like we're getting up higher and higher. There's like a little sign and it has the light when you need to put snow chains on, and it's like at this certain checkpoint. And it's like almost at the top of the hill and we're like, fuck, like what do we do? And anyway, we noticed that people are putting their snow chains on before then. The whole time we're like, we didn't watch the bloody video. What are we gonna do? We didn't know how we were gonna bloody make it up the mountain. It just was a disaster. Of course this happened. We're like, we didn't listen to the damn video and now we have to put them on. We were like hoping that it just wouldn't happen for us. They literally told us at the thing, they're like, it's pretty rare you have to put snow chains on, like the snow has to be heavy enough. But of course, it was bloody heavy enough. We get to the checkpoint and it's like, you've got to put your snow chains on now. And we're like, fuck. So like we just get out of the car and I was just like, maybe we just like stand here and just like look like we're having trouble and maybe someone will stop for us. And so we just sort of pulled them out, like looking at them, and every time a car would go past we'd be like, oh no, we're two girls who don't know what we're doing. Like, what do we do? We're just so helpless and like we do not know how to put snow chains on. Someone pulls over and we're like, fuck yeah. They're pulling over and start putting their own on and we're like, great. We watched them drive off with the snow chains. We were probably only standing there for like 5 minutes, had pulled them out, and then, thank the Lord, the lights changed on the bloody snow chain thing and it was like, you know, no longer need them. We like throw them back in there and we're like, hopefully we never have to potentially do that ever again. So we got out of never having to put the chains on, thank God, because that VHS was so boring. We got up there and we did like a lesson. Fiona fucking hated it. I've never seen someone hate skiing so much, but she hated it. She's like, it hurts. It hurts my damn legs. It's so painful. It's not enjoyable. And I literally only did skiing because she didn't want to do snowboarding. Otherwise I would have done snowboarding. But I did skiing for her. I hope you understand that, Fiona. I did that just for you. So the night after I had the big fall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. I don't know how the nursery rhyme goes, but I was Humpty Dumpty. I remember that night I was like pulling like hairs out of my blanket. I was like, yuck, this is so disgusting. Like they mustn't clean these very well. And the boys were like, oh yeah, like there was an old dude who was sleeping in that bed like the night before you guys got here. And we were like, ah! And Fiona's like laughing at me while she's in her cave cocoon of sanctuary safety. And I'm exposed, big cracked open head, laying on the top. I had the gross stinky old man's blanket. I couldn't take it in till the next day and it was freezing because we were like in a snowy area. So I couldn't not sleep with the blanket on me. So I literally had to take it like the next day and I was like, there's hairs all over this. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll just give you another one. They gave me another one. I was like, who's to say this one's clean? Like it didn't smell clean either. Is it really clean though? Is it though? That basically tells the story of what happened when I cracked my head open in a bar. Turns out my friend then went and like worked over in New Zealand and she must have gone to that bar often or whatever and knew the people who worked there, and I'm pretty sure she asked about it and they literally showed her like the CCTV footage of it, and I was like, that's amazing. So glad they're just showing everyone my downfall and the most cringe moment of my life. And like sometimes I still get like throbs of pain in my scarring in the back of my head. It sucks. I still have a lump that's definitely up there with like the craziest drunken thing that I've done, like the dumbest, the stupidest thing, because I mean it could have been prevented had I not had that many shots and that many beers. But I'm just thankful that it didn't go worse than that. Like it could have gone way worse. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like down below and I will be back with a piercing video on the weekend. See you there. Bye.